the new wrestling company, Control Your Narrative, that is being started by two wrestlers, EC3 and the formerly known as Braun Strowman, aka Adam Scherr. They released a press statement, I believe, this past week, in which they announced that a TV deal was imminent. And we heard this from EC3 in that statement, and I quote, "We collectively as wrestlers can no longer wait. We cannot wait on companies that answer only to shareholders. Companies where billionaires collect talent as toys, companies that fire their entire roster for the mistakes their office made, companies that are complacent in presentation. To create true change, you have to be bold. You have to bet on yourself. With CYN, talent bets on themselves," close quote. Now, part of this, especially the name, is stemming from the gimmick and the stable that EC3 had built within Ring of Honor. Obviously, Ring of Honor is now on hiatus, which is leading to this new promotion. James, there's a lot of weird stuff going on here. Could you help lend some light onto the situation past this press release?
Never has something so potentially exciting felt so dreadful in the wrestling world, or at least nothing in like recent history. We've all said it. We want there to be more companies for more talent to work for. We love competition in wrestling. We love seeing these wrestlers get fed and work and hone their craft in as many places as possible. We just kind of hoped it would be in places that seemed not so maybe potentially icky. I think icky is a good word.
A safe one.
It's definitely a safe one. Look, as it is, yes, CYN, Control Your Narrative. It's something new. It's going to exist. It's not a load of bull. Maybe to the level at which they're hyping, which is that there will be a TV deal. They have all these wrestlers attached, which I'll get into in a second. But it's going to happen. There are shows announced. That's exciting. Some of the rumors that are persisting about it, some of the leaked information that we've been hearing is a little worrisome. You know, a lot of these guys, and look, I'm not going to turn this into a political thing, but a lot of these guys are guys who are known within the industry for being very right wing and being very conservative. And I'm again, no judgment on that, but they've alienated a lot of people in the industry. One of the first big names that they had signed, or at the very least have attached to them, is Killer Cross, formerly known as Karrion Kross in WWE. He's someone who is known for being not difficult, but opinionated. And now today, the big signing that they announced, and we haven't really seen him in a prominent way in several years at this point, Austin Aries, another well-known jackass. And that hurts to say because I love Austin Aries as a kid. I thought he was fantastic. I think he had so much potential back then, but he squandered it by being a douchebag. So a lot of these talent that they've officially announced so far, interesting to say the least. There are a couple more names that are rumored, such as Tessa Blanchard and her husband. There are apparently a list of names that are on the do not work with list. So they do have some standards. You know, no Alberto Del Rio, for example. These are at least somewhat comforting things to hear, but it's not off to a great start, at least in terms of getting fans excited or emotionally invested in the product. And I wish them well because I stand by it. I want to see more companies, but a lot of these ideas are worrisome. There's not going to be a booking team. There's not going to be any booker. These are guys, the rumor is a brotherhood of wrestlers who are going to call it as they do it. Terrifying. terrifying, messy, if true. So, like I said, what an exciting thing to be very afraid of.
It kind of reminds me of the story. I want to say it was Jeff Jarrett. I could be wrong though, but he pitched Vince being champion, and Vince was like, "All right, well, what do you do next?" And he goes, "Well, then I beat everybody." And like that's what happens when you let wrestlers, book themselves. That's what they want to do.
Just gonna let you know, I don't mean to correct you, but that story is great. It was Hardcore Holly.
Was it Hardcore Holly? Okay,
So,
I knew it wasn't Jarrett, but
yeah, Jarrett at least became a world champion somewhere. Holly, no,
not so much.
Not so much.
My apologies to Double J Jeff Jarrett there, but
slap nuts, get it together.
But Chad, hearing some of these names that are being bandied about, do you think anybody's even going to want to watch this show? Especially not only just with the names, but then too, like you throw in the, let's say, corrosiveness of some of these talents.
Bro. Black Suit Spider-Man is back, guys. In the words of Tony Montana, you need people like me so they can point the fucking finger and say that's the bad guy. I'll be the bad guy. This is going to be a shit show, period. A shit show. Nobody in that company sounds even good enough to want to watch anymore. Sorry. I liked EC3 at NXT. He hasn't elevated. And like you guys said, when you get wrestlers who want to be the head of the company, it doesn't work out the way we exactly want it. Hence Cody. I didn't want to name drop, but sorry. I mean, if we're talking about the biggest failures in making new companies, I'm with James. It's exciting. You want there to be new companies. You want to see people wrestle in all these different avenues and venues. But this does not sound, this doesn't sound elite to me at all. It's just, I'm bored to tears just thinking about the talent they have. I never really liked Austin Aries, and I'm so glad I dodged that bullet. I've never been a Braun Strowman guy. I'm absolutely not a Tessa Blanchard fan. Like I said, I like DC3 for 2.5 seconds. Take it or leave it. Sounds underwhelming.
Yeah, I think I liked Aries a bit when he was first in NXT, and then he came up on commentary. I believe it was mostly for the 205 stuff when it was still on Raw. And he had the banana in his pocket and was continually talking about his package. Other than that, I didn't see much of him, and he just, everything I've heard, he seems like a bit of a schmuck.
Look, he was a very talented wrestler. In his prime, he was a mixture of Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. And he went to he went to TNA and he became champion there, and he became a great champion there.
He was the X Division champ, right? And he cashed that in to become champion.
Yeah, I think he was the first option C guy.
Yeah,
to cash in the X Division champion. And also, I think he's the first 2-time Ring of Honor champion, which in itself is very impressive. But years of being difficult have caught up with him, and he's burned a lot of bridges in a lot of places, which is unfortunate when you have that level of talent. To keep it on to the topic of CYN, control your narrative, I'm going to try to have an open mind because, again, this is another avenue for people to work. So far, we've had 4 names: EC3, Adam Scherr, Killer Cross, and Austin Aries. A mixed bag, to say the least, but who knows who else they might get involved. And that's going to hold my interest for now. We'll see. As more announcements come, I'm sure we'll talk about it here on the pod. But I think, Nick, you asked a question about who is going to be interested in this. Who would this appeal to? I don't think they're right now trying to be an AEW. I don't think they're trying to be a WWE. I think they know that there is a very niche market that they can appeal to. Wrestling is, again, shocker for a lot of people, it is a very liberal audience. It's surprising, I know, but mostly liberals are the voices that you hear attached to wrestling, something I'm grateful for. But there is a market for the conservative viewers, and this is who I think they're going to appeal to. One of the big rumors is that they were aiming to do a lot of shows in Jersey. Now, on one hand, on an optimistic possibility, it's because Jersey's a really good wrestling market. It's a big wrestling state. It's a big wrestling town. The other is that there is a fair number of conservative people in Jersey, and that's probably who they're marketed towards. They're going to be marketed towards. So again, this is a lot of speculation. This is a lot of conjecture. We will see what happens, but all signs are pointing to this.
Yeah, it should be noted that towards the end of Wednesday's Dynamite, and about 2 hours before us taping this, there was an anonymous Reddit thread posted to Squared Circle. It had a bunch of claims, including that Brian Cage was a name that could be possibly brought in. It was some of the investors who were mostly right-wing people. I believe one of them was the My Pillow guy. But as of this taping, that thread has not been verified by the mods of Squared Circle. So if you want to go check it out, be my guest. It might change between now and when you're seeing this, but take all that with a grain of salt. We don't really know what's going on here. All we know is EC3 and Adam Scherr creating a new company. They have 2 other people attached. They allegedly have a TV deal, and they apparently have a couple of shows scheduled for, I believe it was March 6th and the 31st. I know the latter was in Dallas. I think the former was in Jersey, like you mentioned, James.